Looking to escape the excitement of the city for a more leisurely pace? Well, this grand old country lady might be just the tonic. It certainly was for Chris Stockdale and Jeanette Werner, who traded up life in Sydney's hospitality scene for a more rustic setting in central Hawke's Bay. The husband and wife welcome people to share in their bucolic lifestyle at Wallingford Homestead, which they operate as boutique accommodation.
Hello, I'm Jeanette Werner and I'm the hello person at Wallingford.
And I'm Chris, I'm the chef / co-manager, married to Jeanette.
The couple left their metropolitan life in Sydney to move to Wallingford at the end of 2018.
We wanted to leave the big city and all the stresses that are associated with the city behind. And as a young person, I love the countryside, really. My dream was to live in a house like this, but that's not how we came here. It was just, we'd sold our restaurant and our business and our apartment, and we were just really looking for a change. And this was literally any job. Chris found it, and we turned up for the interview, and we really didn't know what we were getting ourselves into, but we loved the feel of the place, and we also really loved Gareth too, who's the owner.
The idea of coming back to New Zealand was something I did not expect. I was born in Nakatohuna, raised in Hamner Springs, but I lived in Sydney for pretty much 30 years. And we had pretty successful businesses, employing lots of people. So our staff were about 40 plus. So with that came pressures of running your own small business. And I guess Jeanette and I were always thinking about what if, the other side of the fence, moving to country and living a totally different life to what we had in Sydney.
The old homestead was once the home of a prominent Hawke's Bay farming family, the Ormonds, an essential hub in the community. These days, it has a new purpose.
It was in the Ormond family for 4 generations, and they were all John and Jacks, but the initial John had come from the English village, Wallingford. He was a farmer, and it was a station, so at its height it was definitely over 4,000 acres. And then it went down through succession and stayed in the family for 4 generations. And their family too, I think, segued into politics, because Sir John, who was knighted, was the head of the meat board, and really introduced New Zealand lamb to the world. So very central to, I suppose, the nuts and bolts of rural New Zealand. And this was very much like a house that was full, because one of the Johns, had 11 children. So it was a house that was full of life. But more than that too, they were a family that they were all quite musical. So there was lots of singing and entertaining and joy with the school and the church. It was the epicentre of the community. It was very much like, if you needed advice or to see someone, this is where you came. And you can see that in the guest book, which goes back, I think it begins in, 1921? But it's at least 100 years of people who have come and stayed before it was in this capacity of a business, when it was just a big open home full of, joy.
When was this homestead built, actually?
1853, but it did burn down in the early 1900s and was then rebuilt upon the plan with numerous extensions, like the schoolroom wing and the restaurant wasn't there, in the original format.
And can you tell me about the property as it is now, accommodation and a chance for people to experience this little piece of history?
It's an incredibly beautiful place. We only have the 5 en-suites, so at any given period when it's full, there are 10 people here. So it allows for a huge amount of privacy, but still there's that sense of community. So in the main sitting room, traditionally called the hall, people gather for a pre-dinner drink. So that's that sense of where everyone, it's kind of country introductions, where everyone meets each other, that sense of community. So you all meet there, that's a bit of a hub in the centre, and then you go in to sit on your separate tables. But often the connection's so strong, people will call across the room and join tables, and that's half the fun of it for me.
Should we go head inside the homestead? The homestead now also boasts a popular restaurant open 3 nights a week, including for locals with a reason for celebrating. You can just picture the lively atmosphere, glasses clinking as people get into the festive spirit.
To 14 people. So this is your typical setup. In that we have 5 tables in the dining room, so we're full at 14. On Saturday nights we do local people do come in if they're celebrating a special occasion.
There's some beautiful old wood furniture here. Is some of this original to the property or?
The piano is original. Gareth did purchase all the other furniture, but he has a love of antiques and he's very cognizant of keeping all the furniture within, keeping with the house.
And look at these beautiful hardwood floors as well, just beautiful features really. And the wood panelling as well in the hall that we just passed.
It's all made of native timbers. And this room was very rarely used, but now it's really built a hub.
One of the other really special things about the homestead and the accommodation service, you understand, is of course the food. Can you tell me a little bit about that and your process for sourcing local ingredients?
Food revolves around the whole concept of the slow movement. And the slow movement was about knowing where your food comes from. I guess slowing down when you eat it. I guess the importance of the environment, being sustainable, supporting local producers. And I guess that's what we try to do in Sydney to an extent with our wine lists and the food that we source. So bringing that to New Zealand was something we wanted to carry on. And of course, being in rural New Zealand was a lot easier than being in Sydney. So, as a chef, coming to Wallingford was exciting because a lot of the produce you can find in the ground, so like kaffir lime leaves and all the citrus and figs. And, for me, that was quite incredible. Also having the truffles was something that was for chefs a bit mind-blowing. It goes from spending a couple of $1,000s a week on truffles to coming here where you just go down the paddock and dig a few up.
Is part of that because of the history and this was once an isolated rural homestead, so they had to have good food supplies? What were the kitchen and gardens like when you moved in?
Well, the gardens, I think in the old days, like the whole front paddock out here was the veggie garden. So they used to have about 30 to 40 people working on the farm or inside the house. So they were self-sufficient, they had everything there. And obviously being a working farm, you had the cattle and you had the sheep. We try to grow our own veggies, but I am a city boy at heart, I guess, and everything I touch I kill. I am getting better. Realistically, we do, because the restaurant is what it is and we have quite a lot of people coming through, we have to go outside Wallingford to source those products. And that's where we sort of really try to hunt down those sort of producers that have similar sort of philosophies as us, and that makes so much easier when you come across people who are like sustainable practices and really passionate about what they do, and that there's a story behind it where we can transition that story into the menu. The menu consists of 9 things often, so it's what we call a degustation, so small plates with quite a variety, and that will consist of fresh fish, seafood, which is with the Parongaho and all those local beaches along the way. Seafood is quite an important part of this area. Features things from the land like lamb and beef, and obviously the vegetables. Being in Hawke's Bay, the produce and variety of produce is quite incredible. So it's using what we can source.
You mentioned, once upon a time Wallingford would have been, in this area, a quite large employer of many people working the land, and obviously in its new role it still provides a lot of employment. Can you talk me through what that looks like in the restaurant and that side of things? How many people do you have working for you?
Basically, I'm the only chef here, so I do a lot of the menu myself, and we have geared up the kitchen so we can sort of achieve that. So we open the restaurant about 3 nights a week.
It's a small team, so we employ about 8 people, and we all do a little bit of multitasking. I suppose that often when people are here, there's as many staff as there are in a guest, which makes for a very intimate experience. But, I mean, you can see Lilia runs the floor, but she's helping set up the house. And Linda's head of housekeeping, but she'll help me do brekkie. So, yeah, we have two outside, maintenance and a gardener. And Chris works with kitchen hands, and I work with Lilia. And Sarah, who's our accountant, will also come and help us on the floor. So it's a really tight-knit team that most of the staff live within a 10-minute radius. I know Keith is Waipakaro, so he travels the furthest of everyone. Sarah's a local farmer, and Lilia and Steve farm, and Linda lives at Prongahau. So, yeah, it's local people.
One of the team, Lilia, shares what it means to be part of the homestead today.
So, my name is Lilia, and I live just a few kilometres away from the homestead here, near Porongahau. It definitely wasn't an industry that I had worked in before, probably more so an opportunity coming up, and me being so close by, I thought I would just jump at the chance. Well, I feel really lucky to have found work so close by.
And what is it that keeps you coming back?
Chris's food, 100% the food.
Chris and Jeanette say they feel lucky to be able to share their slice of country life with visitors.
I know what's unique about this place is that, you know, you can come here and just, it's the whole idea of disconnecting. So, I mean, mobile reception's not great. And you sort of disconnect to reconnect, so you can just, I don't know, it's that whole idea of that new, I heard this new thing the other day called JOMO, the joy of missing out.
Yes.
And it's just, you can go and sit on the balcony and just read a book or fall asleep or be in the sun or just watch the birds, watch the animals, and it's okay. And it's more than okay, it's just really rejuvenating.
That was Chris Stockdale and Jeanette Werner speaking at Wallingford Homestead in central Hawke's Bay. Janine Schwanneker also spoke with Lilia Santiago.